want to recognize all of you for coming here today. Um, and I want to start by thanking God and thanking all of you. Today is a bit overwhelming for me. I'm not a public speaker. I like working behind the scenes. I would rather write down whatever is on my mind. And you have heard the quality of speakers we have had today, right from the pastor until Pius, who just left here, our own Joki and our MC, all of them very powerful speakers. I wish I would be behind the scenes writing down my thoughts. But in the morning, one of my children sent me a text and called me, "Good morning, author and poet." And I thought he was talking about somebody else. And the reason is that I never set out to write a book. All I did was express myself. I was just living my life. And my life is not interesting. But after 5 decades, after 50 years, you start asking yourself, did I live the best life? And of course, we are all wishing that we have another 50 after the first 50. And I ask myself, will my next 50 be like the first ones? We had the whole business of the pandemic last year, and it gave me a lot of time to sit down and think. You all remember we had a downtime for a few months, and I had time to think about my life. And while I was doing that, I was reviewing, have I made the right decisions in all my life? Have I been a good person to the people in my circles, my family, my children, my neighbors, the animals around, and the plants? In that evaluation, I said, having lived for 50 years, I want to live the next 50 in a different way. And how different was that next 50 going to be? I said I have a number of things. And I think today we have heard a lot about regrets. I've always loved words. And I said, if I don't live to write a book and I die, that is going to be one of my regrets. I think you heard the pastor talking about how many good ideas are buried in the cemeteries. That was what was going through my mind. And I said, I'm going to do things a bit different in the next half of my life. One of the things I'll do is I should write a book. Number 2, I'm going to do things differently with my relationships. Today we are talking about the launch of a book called Magic of Love. And it's about love. And love comes in many facets. We are all fascinated by the erotic type of love, which is man-woman, but that is not love. That is, a small portion of love. There's more to love than that. And therefore, I wanted to explore that. And I said, have I loved those who are near to me? Have I loved those who are around me? Have I been a good person worthy of love, of those who have loved me? And I said, the next part of my life, I'm going to love in a different way. A lot of us are skeptics. We say love doesn't exist. We are here to just do life. When you get to 18 years, you go to school, you finish school, you marry the first girl you see, and you start a family. But I tell you, love is real, and we should all experience it. And we keep experiencing it, and we use it like a commodity. You pick it, you throw it down. Many of us, and I was one of those people, I didn't believe in true love. It's let's get on with life and so on. But in my reflections, I realized there's a purpose, like we have been told here so many times. We must understand what love is. And I set out to understand what love is. And I said, I hope I'm going to experience some love. I said my life will be different. My relationships, my career, my parenting, everything. And I'm going to try and understand that. And I started thinking about writing. I've always written poems and written words and so on from when I was in school. But I keep dropping it, starting it, dropping it, and so on. So I got inspired after this realization. Why don't I write poems? And remember, I had made 5 vows, and one of them was that I'll write a book. And then somewhere along the way, I fell in love. And the lady I fell in love is with us today. She's called Caro. You'll be meeting her later. Caro, you can wave. She's right there at the back. So to the young guys around here, you can fall in love even when you're old. The old people are also owning love. It's not just for you young people. So I fell in love, and that inspired me to start writing. I wanted to tell her so many things. I had loved other people before, but I wanted now to make this one special. Remember, I said I'm going to do things differently. And that story of our love is what you're seeing here today, the book called Magic of Love. Now, I wasn't sure about it, and I said, wait a minute. Who cares about my love story? The people I loved, the people I didn't love, the love I had, and so on and so on. So I said, let me ask other people to also talk about their own experiences of love. So this book has got 74 poems I've written, and another 30 poems that have been written by my friends, my relatives, and so on. That support, including my own children. Even my daughter, who is here, Megan, has written, and I think you're going to hear her poems as well. So I have poems here from 16 people who supported me. My own daughter, my own son, everybody, my workmates, my friends, my neighbors. So it's not a boring story about love from one old man who just discovered love. Now, while I was doing this, I was just doing this for my own self and my own sake. And then as I was talking to Joki, she told me about her dream for this center. And mine was just to write poems that express myself. She told me, I can publish you. And you know how much that means. Because I thought publishing books, you have to go and talk to some big people in a big office. You know, those big publishers we hear. And I don't know how to go about it. Will it cost money and so on? She told me, keep sending the poems you write to me. And I did. And after a few days, she told me, after a few months, she told me, I'm sending your poems to an editor. And then after that, she sent them back to me and told me, all these poems are good and we are going to put them in some themes, you know, about love for God, love for, pure love, love for, easy love, hard love, all different types of loves. And then after that, she told me, I'm getting an illustrator, I'm getting a designer. And then one day she sent me a draft and told me, can you go through it and tell me if you're happy? And that's the first time I thought, Allah, we are actually doing a book. You had the speaker here before. We all need a giant on whose shoulders we can stand on. And I think for me, I never thought I would be able to stand here and talk about a book, but it was one of my aspirations. And I want to thank Joki, my publisher, for making this dream come true. I've been a supporter of her center, but I thought I'm one of those people on the sides. Now I see myself as the first person we are launching a book for. We can all make a contribution to the creative industry. We are all creatives. Even those people who say they are scientists, we are all creatives. We are all creating something. How we turn that into money, we all know the stories of how creativity industry is big in the developed countries or even in our neighboring countries. You know, Tanzania, South Africa, artists are living their dreams. And that can happen in Kenya. And it can only happen when we merge, we bring together, the people who can buy art. There's a girl who was here called Magdalene, and she said, buy art, buy the creations that people are making. So I'm also going to urge you to support us and buy the book tonight, and I'll be there to sign the book. And we can recoup some of the costs because I didn't invest. This is all done by Njoki Karua Center. So she needs to recoup her money and so on. And then maybe in the next 5 years, I can make some money, hopefully. I'm going to read to you a poem called You Loved Me Before I Was Born. This is a story of my life. This is a story of my relationship with my mother. That's, is the first love, the first person who loves me, who loves you when they're still carrying you in their stomach. And therefore I wrote a poem that said, you loved me before I was born. At the beginning of my time, a fetus in a dark place, created at the wrong time, by the wrong people in the wrong way. You loved me before I was born. No room for another hungry mouth, too much poverty already. Why does this happen to the poor? What do we do now? Yet you loved me before I was born. Will the nuns come to our aid? Some crisis pregnancy program, a place where you're made to feel sinful amongst your fellow sinners. You're in the same boat, yet you loved me before I was born. Why don't you give up your unborn for adoption? Obviously, you cannot handle another mouth. Then you can go back to your own miserable life. Yet you loved me before I was born. Maybe there was a mention of an abortion, whispered because we are Christians. Get rid of the problem. You can go back to making your life hard as usual. Yet you loved me before I was born. Your mother stood her dusty ground. We are poor, but we cannot give away our own blood. We will deal with our fate. Call us names, call us poor, call us desperate, ignorant, but we do not do that. We have dignity, impoverished though. You loved me before I was born. Tough times ahead. School to home to breastfeed, a teenage child struggling to raise another child. What could life make worse than this? Life at worst, but you loved me before I was born. You are called names by your brothers, by your sisters, by your neighbors. A desire to do school, to do the right thing, be somebody. Lift those on your side. Raise this life that is now your sentence. You loved me before I was born. I stand today as a testimony that tough beginnings do not mean tough ends. Hard starts mean softer ends. I stand today a love philosopher, discovering love, exploring love, living it, loved by a show of hand, just because you loved me before I was born. Thank you.